In this lesson, I'm going to just do a little bit more work on stem plots and choosing correct stem and leaves, which is tricky for people. So if I were asking you to make a stem and leaf plot with this data, which has to do with salaries, and I asked you to make a stem and leaf plot, here is the deal with a stem and leaf plot, okay? If I were to do this, remember that the leaves can only be 1 digit long. So for this piece of data right here, if I leave it as it is, the difference between my stem and my leaf has to go right there. So this part would be my stem. My stem would be 1,513, and my leaf would be 6. Here's where it would have to go here. Here's where it would have to go here. Here's where it would have to go here. Okay? Now, if you look at this, remember stem and leaf plots need to go in order from smallest to largest. So my smallest stem, which would be this piece of data right here, would have a stem of 194, sorry, and it would have a leaf of 0. Then what would happen is I would have to go like this. You cannot skip any numbers in stem and leaf plots. So I would have to go 195, 196, 197, 198, like this, all the way down until I get to the next leaf. Can't skip a number until I get down to 696, and then again my leaf would be 0. Okay, that is going to be cumbersome. I do not want to list every single number that goes from 194, which is my smallest stem, to my biggest stem, which would be 1,513. That's not practical, it's not doable, it's not any of the above. So sometimes when we do stem and leaf plots, we have to round our numbers, okay? So in this case, I'm going to round every single one of these to the nearest 10. If I round them to the nearest 10, then this one goes to 15,140. This one stays at 1,940. The next one goes to 12,340. And the next one goes to 6,960. It's already rounded off to the nearest 10. Now, notice how every single one of these has a 0 at the end. So I would cross those zeros off. And now if I cross those zeros off, because they're rounded, now I'm going to divide my stem and my leaves. So for this one, my stem would be 151 and my leaf would be 4. For this one, my stem would be 19 and my leaf would be 4. Stem would be 123, leaf would be 4. Here, stem would be 69, leaf would be 60. So still, if I look at the smallest number, my smallest stem is 19 right here. And so I would have to go 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And I'd have to list every single number until I get to my biggest leaf, which would be 151. Okay? Still way too many numbers to list. Still not rounded enough. Okay? So I don't want to do that. I'm going to round these a little differently. Now I'm going to round these all to the nearest hundreds. So here I would have 15,100. The next one, if I round it to the nearest hundred, would be 1,900. The next one would be 12,300. And the next one would be 7,000. Okay? Now I want you to notice how they all have 2 zeros at the end. So I would cross both of those zeros off. Okay? And I'm going to put my divisions in. Again, your leaves can only be a single digit number. Okay? So I would have 15 as my stem and 1 in my leaf. 1 is my stem, 9 is my leaf. 12 is my stem, 3 is my leaf. 7 is my stem, 0 is my leaf. So now my smallest leaf would be 1. And then I would go like this, all the way up till I get to my biggest leaf, which would be 15. And I'm not going to take the time to write all these numbers, but this is what it would look like. This number right here has a stem of 1 and a leaf of 9. My next biggest number has a stem of 7 and a leaf of 0, and you can keep going and filling in all 4 numbers. Then when you make your little key for this, 1/9 equals 1,900. And that's how you tell me that you've crossed 2 zeros off, okay? I know this is not exact data. It is rounded, but that's what you're going to have to do. Okay. Here, if I wanted you to do this, And I wanted you to make your stem and leaves, and I want you to think about this one yourself. This is just kind of a check, okay? But it's figuring out where would you have to round the numbers to in order to make this make sense. And basically, notice these are all in order from smallest to largest. And kind of think about where you would put your leaves. So if I go down here and I round these, it would kind of make sense if I put my division line right there between my stem and my leaf. Then my smallest stem is 2. And if I go up to the same spot on the biggest number, my smallest, I'm making that division line between the 1 million and the $10 million mark. And here my biggest stem would be 20, okay? Which basically means I'm going to round everything to that spot right there. So my question is, does the 9 stay a 9 or does it need to go to 10? Okay, I would put a leaf right here. So I would have 13,000 then. Would this 8 stay at 8 or would it go to 9? And again, you're going to look at the number to the right and it would go to 9, okay? The next one, I'm rounding, should I round that 8? Leave it at 8 or go to 9? And since it's a 2 to the right of it, it's going to stay at 8. Okay, let's look at another one. This number right here. My stem is 11. My leaf in question, should it be a 9 or should it round to a 10? And since this is a 2 right here, it's going to stay at a 9. Let's go to this one. My stem is 11 and my question is, should this stay at 8 or go to 9? Because there's this 5 to the right of it. This actually should go to 9. Okay? And that's how you would do that. So then your key would go like this. 20/9 actually means 20,900,000. Okay? I didn't do that right. It means 209,000. Sorry. All right. This is just kind of, you can do this on your own. You can take this data and find the Q1, the range, the Q1, the spread, the Q3, the median and the center, the IQR, the shape and the outliers. So you can certainly hit this video, hit pause and do this if you want, but you're going to use this set of data right here and find those things on it. Okay? So go ahead and hit pause. You can hit pause here if you want. You can hit pause here if you want so that you can see what you have to find. And then I will let you check your answers. But this is what your answers should be right here. And then it says use the information to compare the distributions. And when you compare the distributions, I want you to talk about center, shape, spread, and any unusual characteristics that you would see. Okay, so if I talk about spread, I would say something like this. Rural areas have a slightly larger spread than urban. In both regions, the data is fairly symmetric. And pretty uniform and almost uniform. Rural areas in general have higher caloric intake than urban areas. And lastly, I don't think there's any unusual pieces of data in there that stick out to me that are really big or really small. In other words, there's no outliers in there. But I would say there is no unusual data. Unusual, sorry. All right.